Canada didn't fire back, they didn't protest, they didn't tweet, they just stopped buying. And now in 2025, entire US industries are bleeding out. The impact is cascading through Hollywood. LA studios are delaying Canadian targeted projects, and the California content pipeline to Canada is shrinking. Picture this: you wake up one morning and your biggest customer, your most reliable partner, your closest friend just stops calling. No angry emails, no heated confrontations, no dramatic announcements. They simply disappear from your life, taking their business elsewhere. That's exactly what happened to America in 2025. Trump's latest tariff policy was supposed to protect American jobs and reignite economic nationalism. The administration promised it would force trading partners to respect American interests, but Canada didn't respond with threats or sanctions. They didn't hold press conferences or burn flags. Instead, they did something far more devastating. They responded with choices. Quiet, deliberate choices that are now sending shockwaves through the American economy. This isn't a boycott, it's something far more dangerous. Today, we reveal the 6 American industries Canadians are walking away from, and the silent economic earthquake that's shaking US states to their core. Because when even your closest ally stops showing up, you know something fundamental has broken. Let's start with something that seems absurdly small but is symbolically massive: peanut butter. Yes, you heard that right. The humble jar of peanut butter has become ground zero for a quiet consumer revolution. Walk into any Canadian grocery store today, and you'll notice something strange. The shelves that used to be dominated by Skippy and JIF are now filled with Canadian alternatives. We're talking about a 34% drop in major US peanut butter brands practically overnight. Kraft Canada and Nuts Do You have suddenly become the spreads of choice for Canadian families. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Social media campaigns like #SpreadCanadian have been quietly gaining momentum, with Canadian parents posting photos of their kids' lunches made with domestic peanut butter. The messaging is subtle but clear: we're feeding our children with products from companies that respect us. The ripple effects are devastating. Peanut farmers in Georgia and Arkansas are facing massive inventory gluts. Processing plants that have supplied Canadian markets for decades are now sitting on stockpiles they can't move. One Georgia farmer told local media, "I've never seen anything like this. 20 years of steady orders, and then nothing. Complete silence." What makes this particularly striking is that peanut butter isn't a luxury item or a political statement piece. It's a staple food, something you grab without thinking. But that's exactly the point. When even lunchbox staples become political, you know the economic relationship has fundamentally shifted. No product is too small to become a battlefield when trust breaks down. From peanut butter to pure American thunder, HarleyDavidson. If there's one product that screams American identity, it's a Harley. The roar of a Harley engine has been synonymous with freedom, rebellion, and the open road for generations. But in 2025, that roar is getting quieter in Canada. The numbers are staggering. HarleyDavidson sales have crashed by 46% following Canada's retaliatory import taxes. But here's what the statistics don't capture: the cultural shift happening in Canadian biker communities. Riding clubs that have been Harley exclusive for decades are now switching to Yamaha, BMW, and Triumph. The iconic Toronto dealership that had been selling Harleys for 22 years shut down last month, unable to sustain the dramatic drop in sales. This isn't just about tariffs making bikes more expensive. Canadian bikers are making a statement about respect and dignity. As one Montreal biker put it, "I rode Harley because it represented something. But when the country that makes it treats us like we're the enemy, what's it represent now?" The impact is rippling through Wisconsin and Missouri, where Harley plants are cutting hours and laying off workers. These aren't just jobs, they're communities built around American manufacturing pride. But that pride means nothing when your biggest export market feels insulted and walks away. Here's the cruel irony: HarleyDavidson didn't insult Canada. The company never made a political statement, but Trump did, and Harley is taking the fall. That's the brutal reality of economic nationalism. When governments pick fights, private companies pay the price. Now let's talk about the giant that seemed untouchable, Amazon. The company that made one-click ordering a way of life is discovering that Canadians can just as easily click cancel subscription. The numbers are breathtaking. More than 110,000 Prime cancellations in just 90 days. Cross-border orders have dropped by 39%. But what's driving this isn't just the hassle of increased customs fees, it's something deeper. Canadians are viewing Amazon's silence during the trade tensions as complicity. The sentiment shift is palpable. Amazon, once seen as a convenient global marketplace, is now viewed by many Canadians as an American company that stayed silent when its northern neighbors were being economically attacked. The message boards and social media are full of comments like, "If they won't stand up for us, why should we stand up for them?" The migration is happening fast. Canadian Tire's online platform has seen a 67% increase in orders. Indigo, CA, and other domestic retailers are struggling to keep up with demand. What took Amazon years to build, customer loyalty and market dominance, is crumbling in months. The warehouse operations in Pennsylvania, Washington, and Texas are feeling the impact. Fulfillment centers that once processed thousands of daily orders to Canada are now operating at reduced capacity. Even giants fall when trust collapses, and convenience dies when it feels like complicity. The cultural battleground extends to entertainment. Netflix, the streaming giant that revolutionized how we consume content, has lost over 520,000 Canadian subscribers in a single quarter. That's not just a number, it's a cultural rejection. The #StreamCanadian movement started quietly but has gained serious momentum. Canadian families are discovering that CBC Gem, Crave, and BritBox offer compelling alternatives to American streaming services. The message is clear: if American entertainment companies won't publicly support Canada during political tensions, Canadian viewers will find their entertainment elsewhere. Netflix's silence during the trade dispute has been interpreted as taking sides through inaction. In times of conflict, neutrality often reads as complicity. Canadian viewers are saying, "If you won't speak up for us, we'll speak with our wallets." Production companies that once specifically catered to Canadian audiences are now questioning the viability of that market. This represents something profound: when cultural products become political weapons, even entertainment loses its universal appeal. A brand silence in conflict is a statement, and viewers notice. Silence from brands during a national moment sounds like loud betrayal. Perhaps the most sophisticated consumer revolt is happening at Walmart. Canadians haven't stopped shopping at Walmart, they've just stopped buying American. It's surgical, strategic, and devastating. The data tells the story: 29% drop in Equate, Great Value, and George brand purchases. These are Walmart's private label products, many manufactured in the United States. But here's what makes this particularly brilliant: Canadians are still shopping at Walmart, still filling their carts, still supporting the store. They're just choosing Canadian alternatives for every American product they can find. Internal Walmart Canada memos have leaked showing a directive to de-Americanize shelf space. The frozen food aisles that once featured American brands are now dominated by Canadian alternatives. The pharmacy sections are stocked with Canadian-made generic medications instead of American Equate products. This strategy is devastating for small and medium U.S. suppliers who depend on Walmart's massive distribution network. Companies in Arkansas, Georgia, and North Carolina that have built their entire business models around supplying Walmart are now losing contracts worth millions. The brilliance of this approach is its subtlety. Shoppers didn't leave Walmart, they just left American brands behind. You can still shop and still send a message. It's economic warfare disguised as consumer preference. The automotive industry represents the deepest cut of all. For decades, Canadian and American auto markets have been essentially integrated. Canadian families have bought Ford F-150s and Chevrolet Silverados as symbols of North American reliability and power. But the 20% Canadian surtax on U.S.-built vehicles has shattered that relationship. The shift is dramatic and immediate. Searches for American trucks have plummeted. Test drives at Ford and GM dealerships are down by over 40%. Canadian buyers are flocking to Hyundai, Toyota, and Honda dealerships instead. The vehicles that once dominated Canadian driveways are becoming rare sights. But this isn't just about price. Canadian auto dealers are reporting that customers are explicitly stating they don't want to buy from American manufacturers right now. One Toronto dealer explained, "They're telling me, this isn't about money, it's about respect. When people feel disrespected, they take their business elsewhere." The impact on Detroit, Toledo, and other American auto manufacturing centers is severe. Inventory is piling up, production schedules are being cut, and layoffs are beginning. Factories that have operated at full capacity for years are now running reduced shifts. The F-150, America's best-selling truck, is losing its dominance in a market where it once ruled. The Silverado, once a symbol of American automotive excellence, is gathering dust on dealer lots. When trust breaks down, even flagship brands get abandoned. Step back and look at what's really happening here. This wasn't a typical trade war with tariffs and counter-tariffs. This wasn't a protest with signs and slogans. This was a consumer revolt rooted in dignity, not rage, based on principle, not just price. Canada didn't boycott American products. They simply chose differently. They didn't slam the door, they just stopped showing up. And the United States never heard them leave. That quiet choice is now sending shockwaves through the American economy. 6 major industries, from food to entertainment to automotive, are discovering that customer loyalty isn't guaranteed. When governments pick fights, consumers pick sides. And when your closest ally feels insulted, they don't argue, they just walk away. The economic data is clear: billions in lost revenue, thousands of jobs at risk, entire supply chains disrupted. But the psychological impact might be even greater. If even our closest ally, our quietest neighbor, is done with us, who's next? This isn't just about Canada, it's about what happens when trust breaks down between nations, quietly, completely, and permanently. Because in the end, you don't need bombs or boycotts to break an empire. Sometimes, all it takes is walking away. The question isn't whether American industries can recover from this. The question is whether they can rebuild the trust that made those relationships possible in the first place. And trust, once broken, is far harder to repair than any trade agreement. Canada's silent economic revolt is sending a message that's reverberating far beyond North America. Respect is not optional, and dignity is not negotiable. When you forget that, even your closest friends become strangers, and strangers don't buy your products.